Hey everybody, happy Monday. Welcome back to my space. In case you are new here, my name is Chris and I am the face behind Unsocial. So today we're going to be doing another power hour, and the reason is it is a public holiday here today. Whoop, 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 whoop. And I am stoked. I really needed this day off, you guys. And so I decided I wanted to work on a swimsuit today, and I figured I may as well take you guys along with me for the ride. Now, swimsuit sewing is not something that seems to be very popular in the homemade sewing community. I gather that a lot of people are intimidated by sewing swimwear for whatever reason. And truth be told, until this year, I myself was intimidated by swimwear. Now, last year, was it last year or the year before, I made the Megan Nielsen cotton style swimsuit, and that was my first time ever trying out a swimsuit pattern. And let me tell you guys, I was done. I did it one time and I was like, never, ever, ever will I make another swimsuit. Well, obviously, I lied because, no, that must have been the year before. 2024, I worked on, I think, 2 or 3 swimsuit patterns. It was the new look pattern. I can see it on my, like, I could see it in my mind's eye. And it has a swimsuit pattern, it has a skirt, and it has I think a top as well. And I made that up the first time. I didn't like it. I decided to try again, and the second time I'm like, ooh, this is improvement. And then earlier this year, I started making. Hi, Aisha, welcome into the chat, girl. This year, I worked on a pattern by Edgewater Avenue, and I loved it, you guys. Freaking loved it. I would 10 recommend her swimsuit patterns. No, I don't think all of them are size inclusive. Unfortunately, some of them do have an extended size range, which is awesome. Others have not, but you can go ahead and run over to Edgewater Avenue website and have a look through and see if you find anything that you might want to give a try. Now, I have shared here on the channel some swimsuit tips. I am going to be sharing a couple of them today as I'm working on my swimsuit. I am going to be working on 2 separate pieces from Edgewater Avenue. I am making the Dawn bikini top, and I'm making the Amelia bikini bottoms. They're not sold together. They're actually sold as 2 separate pieces, but I have paired them together in the past and I like it. And I figured I may as well go ahead and give that one a try as well. Now, in addition to that, we have just wrapped up Pattern Hackathon Season 3, you guys, and it was amazing. Tons of work, don't get it twisted, but it was amazing. Now, behind the scenes, we are working on the winners and getting the prizes sorted. So if you are holding true and waiting for that to pop off, hopefully I will have those up sometime this week. It's just a lot of entries to go through. We have been going through each and every entry bit by bit because, of course, some of the categories are judged, others are not. And so just bear with us. It's coming. Now, about my swimsuit today, I am working with, can you guys see? All right, light off. I am working with this fabric. I do already have it right sides together with my lining, but this is what it looks like. You'll see it better when I turn it through. And I decided to work with this solid red as my lining piece. Now, a lot of the Edgewater Avenue swimsuits, if not all of them, are lined. And I like that. I feel like the lining gives a little bit more structure and a little bit more support. Maybe you can try it without the lining. I never have made a swimsuit without lining it, I don't think. So I would definitely recommend lining it, and it gives you a little bit more coverage as well. When you get wet, your swimsuit fabric becomes a little bit more, is it translucent? You can kind of see through it. And so it's always good to have a lining fabric. Now, these 2 fabrics, I actually picked them up from Cali Fabrics. I'm not affiliated with them either, but they have really, really, really good swimsuiting fabrics, you guys. And if you didn't know before, all knit fabrics are not swimsuiting fabrics, and all swimsuiting fabrics are not created equally. And if you're going to use a piece of fabric that is going to get wet and has a possibility of showing your flesh, you might want to make sure that you're buying quality swimsuiting fabric. If nothing else, get bargains on every other type of fabric, not swimsuiting fabric, you guys. You want to have quality swimsuit fabric. It doesn't mean, quality doesn't necessarily mean the most expensive, but you want to have something that has good stretch, that is durable, that is thick enough. Swimsuiting fabric is inherently quite slippery. And so you want to make sure that you're cutting it out on a cutting mat and a rotary cutter. If you look closely, you can see how sharp my edges are. If I had used a pair of shears, I can guarantee you this would not have been the case. Now, to get started on sewing the swimsuit, the first thing that we want to do is we want to baste our pieces together. No matter how long you've been sewing. Hi, Marichelle. I'm glad you were able to make it, girl. No matter how long you have been sewing, no matter how much of an expert you think you are at sewing, when it comes to making swimsuits, you need to baste your pieces together. There is nothing more frustrating than having either your lining or your main fabric slip away while you're trying to attach the elastic. Because if you mess up your elastic, you have to unpick it all, and then you can't reuse the elastic. You would have, what do you call it? What is it called? You know, when the integrity of the elastic, that's it. You would have affected the integrity of the elastic. You can't just stitch back on over it. You have to rip it out and put in a new elastic. So my number one tip when working on swimwear is go ahead and baste your pieces together. As I said, it doesn't matter how long you have been sewing. Baste, baste, baste. It will make sewing swimwear so much easier. Now, just in case you're new here, just in case you're new to sewing, just in case you don't sew at all, but you're just curious to see what's going on over here, when you do a basting stitch, you want to have the longest stitch length possible. Now, my machine goes up to a 6mm stitch length, so I'm just going to go ahead and baste together the sides of the swimsuit that I have already pre-pinned, because this is where we're going to start attaching the elastic. So the longest stitch length, and you just want to tack those pieces together. Now, when you're sewing your swimsuit in fabric, you also don't want to be stretching it. You know your swimsuit in fabric obviously is going to stretch. You don't want to stretch it when you're basting it together or working with it in any way. You just want to make sure that they're gliding together quite easily. Now, if you have a walk-in foot, I would absolutely recommend using one. I don't have a walk-in foot for my Bikini machine, so I just make it work. But if you do have a walk-in foot, it's going to make it a little bit easier to attach your pieces together. So that would be another tip. If it's available to you, go ahead and do that. Now, for today, I am going to be constructing most of my swimsuit, if not all of it, on my machine. This is a home machine. You can use a serger, and I do have a serger. And truth be told, I like to go back in with my serger and just clean up my stitching. But a lot of people feel like they can't make a swimsuit because they don't have a serger. And I am here to tell you, you can make a swimsuit just using your sewing machine. So if by any chance you see that I head on over to my serger, it's only because I do like to reinforce my stitching and clean up the edges and make it look really, really professional. But it's absolutely not recommended. You can go ahead and just use your machine for all of it. So I'm going to be walking you through the steps as I do it. Okay, what's going on? Oh, piece of my thread has gotten stuck in my throat plate. All right, that's better. All right, once we have the pieces basted together, we are then going to switch onto a zigzag stitch. You can use, I think, a lightning bolt stitch. If you have a particular swimsuit stitch on your machine, go ahead and use that. I am just going to be using a regular old zigzag stitch because I like that. And I find that it works well for me. It works well for attaching my elastic and all of that. So that's what I'm going to be using. So I have gone ahead and I have basted my lining and my main together. And this is the front of the panties. So I basted them across the top, and I have basted what would be the leg openings. Substrates are... You definitely need to go ahead and label those fabrics, Marichelle, especially if they are swimsuiting fabrics. Now, for your swimsuiting fabrics for Edgewater Avenue, I think it's recommended to have at least a 70% stretch on the crosswise and on the grain line. This one has amazing stretch. I'm not able to stretch it now because obviously I've just gone ahead and put straight stitches in my panty bottoms. But if I grabbed the other side, you can see it has good stretch and good recovery, because you don't want your swimsuit bagging out after it's gotten wet. That would definitely not be flattering. So you want to make sure that it has good stretch. A lot of the online stores will tell you what the stretch percentage is, And that is one of the reasons I really love Cali fabrics, because they tell you what the substrate is made up of, and it tells you the amount of stretch both along the grain line and the cross grain. I feel like Cali Fabrics needs to make me an ambassador at this point, because I'm always on about their swimsuiting fabrics, because I really, 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 really do like it. Now, one of the Pattern Hackathon categories for winning this year was swimsuiting and, what do you call it, activewear. And we got very few submissions into this category. And I think that might be for two reasons. The main reason is lots of people don't like sewing swimwear, never mind hacking a swimsuit pattern. And the other reason might just be because we had so many different categories. And I did ask for some feedback on Instagram about how we can improve upon the challenge for last year, if anybody had any particular critiques that they wanted to give. And one of the critiques that came in was, it was a little bit confusing, the entry possibilities, the entry categories, because we had been pushing the weekly themes. And even though we had done like Canva flyers for the other entry possibilities, I was not able to pin them to the top of the Instagram feed, because Instagram only lets you pin 3 things. And I had gone ahead and I had pinned the rules for the week. I had pinned the collaboration feature, because a lot of people still did not know how to use the collaboration tool over on Instagram. And I had pinned the weekly themes. And so as the entries started piling in, the other categories sort of got lost. Now, I did try my best to keep posting them to the stories, but that being said, we're probably going to have to work out something a little bit easier for next year, so that people can know upfront all of the other ways that they can enter. That being said, one of the reasons it's been taking us so long to get all of the entries together is because we have gone through each entry to see if by chance it fit into any other category. So even if you entered Kiss Week, for example, if your make fit into any of the other categories, we have gone through and we have put you down as a entrant into those categories as well. So it has been really, really time consuming. So we are going to have those hopefully sooner rather than later. Now that I have basted the pieces together, usually I would baste my panty front and my back together, and then baste my bodices and do all of the basting, and then I would go on and start attaching the elastic. But because this is a power hour and I'm not quite sure how far we're going to get in the process, I am going to be working on the panties first, and if we have any more time, then I will start working on the bodies. Hey everybody, welcome in to Power Hour. Today we are going to be sewing a swimsuit. If you're just joining us, I am working on the Edgewater Amelia bottoms at the moment, and I've also cut out and started prepping the Dawn top. Now, I saw a meme the other day that had me laughing, and it was something like, when you pull your panties out of the package, they always look huge. Like, who's that gonna fit? Can that possibly fit me? And then you put them on and they fit you perfectly. And when I work with swimsuits, I'm always looking at it like, this is my butt. Like, look how big this piece looks. It looks huge to me, but it fits like a glove every single time. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and start attaching the elastic. And arguably, this is probably one of the trickiest parts of working on a swimsuit. I think I probably could have saved them in highlights, Marichelle. I didn't even think about that. There was so much going on, but I have been making notes at how we can improve upon the challenge for next year. So I'll definitely go ahead and add that. Now I'm going to be working on attaching the elastic, and I like to use a stitch length of 2 millimeters long and 3.6 millimeters wide. I'm going to be working with a zigzag stitch, as I said. And as I said, my stitching length is 2 millimeters long and 3.6 millimeters wide. That works a treat for me. Now, in terms of the elastic, there are different types of swimsuiting elastic, and all swimsuiting elastic is also not created equally. You can find swimsuiting elastic on Wawak. You can maybe find it on Amazon, but I like to get my swimsuiting elastic as well from Edgewater Avenue. She has really, really good grade swimsuiting elastic, and this particular one is rubber elastic. There are different types of swimsuiting elastics. You can find cotton, you can find the see-through plastic, and then you can get the rubber elastic, and this is my favorite. She also has different widths This one is a 1/4 inch in width, and I find this the easiest to attach because I'm going to show you guys a little trick on how I attach my swimsuiting elastic fuss free. Like, usually you would have to get your swimsuiting elastic and you're trying to hold it steady along your seam and guiding it and paying attention to where your needle is hitting your elastic. What I do is I'm just going to go ahead and remove my foot. This is the, what do you call it, universal foot that comes with my machine. And can you see it has a little hole right here to the top? I use that, you guys, and I feed my elastic through it. If I can just find the elastic end, maybe I can show you guys. Right here it is. So what I do is I feed my elastic through here. Come on. Like so. And when I'm sewing it on, you guys, it sews on like so. And it just feeds through as I keep sewing it. And this means I don't have to pay attention to trying to line up my elastic with the edge of the seam. It is amazing. Now, it doesn't work for me using any bigger of an elastic. If I wanted to use 3/8 of an inch elastic, which I also do have in my stash, I would have to go ahead and pay attention to the seam allowance and making sure that my elastic is butt up right against the edge of the swimsuit. Now, this swimsuiting pattern does have a 1/4 inch seam allowance, and it means that this elastic is perfect. I'm going to go ahead and show you. Maybe I'll have to try it with my camera so that you guys can see exactly what I'm talking about. Really, really, really great trick. Trying to hold your swimsuit in elastic. Let's bend this down a little bit. All right, I'm going to talk about the stretch in just a minute, Marichelle, in terms of attaching the elastic. Maybe I should just do it now. So Edgewater Avenue does not recommend that you stretch your elastic for her swimsuits. However, that being said, when I am working on the panty section, the leg line in particular, I like to add just a tiny bit of tension, just a little bit of a pull to my elastic because you want it to fit snugly around your butt. Now, she does have instructions that you can do either reversible swimsuits or you can do a swimsuit that has the elastic sewn onto one side and then turned over and top stitched down. That tends to give a little bit more of a snug fit along the panty line, but it means that your swimsuit is not reversible. I want mine to be reversible, and so I am going to encase my elastic between the two layers, the main and the lining, and I am going to put a little bit of tension on the panties only around the leg line. So I'm just going to tilt you guys down now. You probably won't be able to see my face, so you can see exactly what I'm doing at the machine. All right. Might need to lower the light a little bit as well. Okay. So this is my foot right here. Unfortunately, StreamYard doesn't allow me to zoom in, so I'm doing the best I can to show you guys. And then I'm going to let us work on one leg of the panties first. Now, you will find that I will attach my elastic to the same side when I'm working on my swimsuit. So if I'm working on my panty back, I'm going to attach my swimsuiting elastic to one side. On my panty front, the same side. The bodice, the same side. Now, I like to attach it on the main side of my swimsuit, whichever side I have picked to be my main side. Even though this is reversible, there is going to be a dominant side. I like to attach my elastic to that side because when you turn it right side out, the elastic acts sort of like an understitching, and it will allow the lining side to roll to the inside. So you don't have the lining side peeking out. So I'll show you guys hopefully when we get to that step. So you want to attach it to the same side right the way through. Now, another thing that you can consider doing is you can consider starting your elastic within the seam allowance to reduce a little bit more of the bulk at your seam lines. I don't do that all the time, and I'm not going to do that today because if you're not careful, you will forget to go back and make sure you have stitched your swimsuit together at the corners, and then when you turn it out, then you might get some poking and some holes, and we don't want no holes in our swimsuits especially when we get to the beach for me, or the pool for you guys. You do not want to have that type of malfunction. So you need to be cognizant. If you start within the seam allowance, make sure to go back in and make sure your lining and your swimsuiting main has been joined along the entire seam. So now that I have fed my now that I have fed, I was saying, my elastic through my foot, I am going to simply do my stitching. I'm going to hold my elastic with my right hand because I'm right-handed, and I am just going to tug on it ever so slightly. You probably won't even notice it on the camera, ever so slightly. I don't want to do a big old tug to add too much tension, because that will give you bunching up at your underwear, which is good and bad. Good in the fact that when you put it on, it fits more snugly to your bum. Bad in the sense that when you put it down, it looks like it's crumpled up. So I am just going to stretch it ever so lightly, and I'm going to start with my zigzagging. And I am using a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Now, when I get to the almost the end of my seam, I am just going to go ahead and clip my elastic. And then I might have to use my tweezer just to kind of hold the elastic down so it's not flopping about like this, just so I can finish off the seam. All right, so when I've attached my elastic, you guys, this is what it looks like. Can you see how neat that is? It is right up against the edge of my seam line. The stitching is right down the middle, and that is because, as I said, I have used this little hole in my foot to keep the elastic in place. Now I'm just going to tip you guys back up, and you can see that there is ever so slightly a ripple. Can you see that there's just a little bit of rippling? And that is because I have applied just a little bit of tension to the elastic as I was stitching it, just so I can have a little bit more of a tighter fit around my bum. I don't want my butt to slip out, like, you know, when your panties like ride up in your bum when you start walking or running around on the beach. I'm not going to say it won't happen. It might do. I don't know. But this definitely does make it fit a little bit more snug right around the bum. So I'm going to repeat the same process on the other side. Now, because I have attached my swimsuiting elastic to the main side on this side of the leg, when I'm working on the opposite side of the leg, I want my elastic on the exact same side. I don't want to make a mistake and flip it around and attach the elastic on the lining side. Yes, Marichelle, the swimsuit that I'm working on today is going to be a reversible swimsuit. So you can wear it with the pattern side, or you can wear it with the solid red side, because of how I'm going about attaching my elastic. Woo! And then we can have a 2-for-1 deal. Like, who doesn't like that? So I'm going to go back in now, and I'm going to attach the second leg, and I'm going to do the very same thing. I'm feeding my elastic through the hole of my foot, lining up my seam with the seam allowance, starting my stitch, and then I'm going to start tugging ever so slightly on my elastic, just a little bit of tension as I apply my elastic with my zigzag stitch. Now you can do this, as I said, on a serger. I do have a serger attachment for my elastic. I haven't really embraced using it. I thought it would be a lot quicker, a lot more helpful, but I have actually found attaching it this way to be much, much easier than using the attachment for my serger. And I guess I could probably still do it even without that attachment, but it makes it a little bit more difficult. So I've gone ahead and I've attached the elastic to my other foot, like so. And then this is going to be my main side. Now that we have done that, we need to attach the elastic right along the top of the panty section. I am going to attach it again to the main side of my swimsuit, which is this floral printed fabric. But this time, I'm not really going to be applying any tension because her swimsuits have been drafted with enough negative ease for me. At least I have made this one before, as I said, and it fits me fine across like the top of my waistline without applying too much tension. So I'm going to go ahead now and I'm going to attach the elastic to the top of the panties in the exact same way as I have done the legs. Now we're going to leave the crotch and we're going to leave the side seams of our panties open. This one actually has ties at the that you insert in your side seams, but if you insert the ties, then your swimsuit cannot be reversed, obviously, because your ties are going to be tacked to one side. So if I had decided to make this up as the with the ties, then I would not have had a reversible swimsuit. Technically, it could have still been reversible in the sense that your elastic is sandwiched in between your pieces, but the ties mean that I would not have been able to wear it in a reversible way, at least not for the panties. So I am ditching the ties on the panties so that I can have this swimsuit on both sides. Has anybody in the chat made any swimwear before? I would be curious to know what patterns you guys have used to make up your swimsuits if you have before. Right, so, let me just move you guys back a little bit. This is my panty back. This is the back of the panties, and that is done. Elastic has been attached to the top and to the legs. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to do the same thing on the panty front. Now I have made a little bit of an adjustment to this pattern. I have gone ahead and I have narrowed the crotch by 1/4 inch on either side. And that is because I have made these ones up previously and I found that they were too wide between my legs, I guess the way my pelvis is structured. And so I did have to go back in and reduce the width of the crotch line. Now I know a lot of people, when you're working with knit fabrics, you think to yourself that it stretches anyway. There is no need to do any fitting adjustments. I don't subscribe to that at all. I feel like if you need to do an adjustment, go ahead and do an adjustment. It doesn't matter, or it shouldn't matter, whether you have, sorry you guys, my machine tried to eat my fabric. So I just had to go ahead and pull it out. And I am going to go ahead and unpick it and do it again. I know a lot of people, as I was saying, feel like when they're working with knit fabrics, they don't need to make any adjustments. And they sort of rely on the fact that the knit has stretch to, I guess, accommodate their bodies. I don't subscribe to that. I feel like if you need an adjustment, you need an adjustment, whether you're working on knit fabrics or you're working on woven fabrics. Go ahead and take the time to do the adjustment. It does make the world of a difference. Now, in addition to doing the 1/4 inch narrowing at the crotch line on the swimsuit, I have also gone ahead and done a 1/4 inch sway back adjustment because I found that the first time I made up this swimsuit, it was too high right at my center back. So I did go ahead and make a tiny adjustment, a 1/4 inch sway back adjustment to the swimsuit at the top of the waistline on the back panties only. Now those are the only 2 adjustments I have made to this swimsuit pattern. And I'm hoping that I can at least get the panties done so I can try them on and show you guys what they look like on. But I think that they fit me pretty well. And I feel a lot more comfortable and confident wearing a swimsuit that I have made as opposed to like a store-bought swimsuit. Hey Kizzy, welcome in girl, and anybody else who's just joining, welcome into my power hour. We are working on swimsuit today, and the 2 patterns that we're using are the Edgewater Avenue Amelia bottoms and the Edgewater Avenue Dawn top. Now the Dawn top has a lot of variation, and a lot of different pattern pieces. So you can make up this pattern over and over and over again and come up with several different swimsuits. But I am going to be using the simplest one today, the one without any seam lines, even though in the past I have done swimsuits using the Dawn top that have utilized the different variations. Now, if you're just joining me, I am going ahead and attaching my swimsuit elastic. And I did show a close-up of how I do that. Maybe I should do it again because I have noticed that a couple other people have joined us. So let's lower it again. This is my swimsuiting elastic here. I am using rubber swimsuiting elastic from Edgewater Avenue. This is what I would recommend. It is great, you guys. It is thick without being too bulky. It has good stretch, good recovery, and it sews up really, really nicely. So I have threaded my elastic through the top of my foot, and I'm just applying a tiny bit of tension to the, what do you call this? The elastic only, not to my swimsuit. I'm not pulling on the swimsuit itself, only on the elastic, and I'm guiding it through my foot using a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Now for my stitch settings, I am using a regular zigzag stitch. It is a 2mm length and 3.6mm in width. And I have found that this has worked best for me and my machine. But of course, all machines are different. So go ahead and play around with the stitch offerings on your machine. Now I'm getting to the end of my seam. So I'm just cutting off my elastic using my tweezers so I can stitch the rest of it into place. And voila, look how neat this is, you guys. Look at that. Look at the stitching right down the center of my elastic. Perfect. Now I'm going to do the top of the waistline, and we are just repeating the process. So since we're repeating the process, let's talk over here. Now, I'm going to tell you guys a little bit more about the pattern hackathon. We have gotten tons of entries this year, and we have gotten more entries than we have last year. I'm not going to tell you how many just yet because it looks like I might have a couple of prizes left over because we did not get entries into every single category that we had thought we would have. And so I'm thinking about doing a random draw for guessing the amount of entries. And the person who is able to guess closest without going over is probably going to win a prize. And so for that reason, I'm not going to tell you just yet how many entries we had, but we had a lot more than we did last year. So it seems like the pattern hackathon is picking up steam, and I love that. I love that, you guys. It makes me feel so, so happy. It is a lot of work. If you have never hosted a challenge before, if you're thinking about hosting a challenge, I think it will be a great idea. It's a great way to engage with the sewing community, but it is usually a lot of work. It really, really is. All right, you guys. So I've attached my elastic to all of the necessary parts on the swimsuit. So these are the bottoms, this is the front, that is the back. Now, when I told you I like to go back in with my serger and clean up the edges, this is the point where I would usually go ahead and run my seam through my serger because it just gives a more professional look, and it means that I'm reinforcing my stitching as well. Not that I'm concerned that they're going to break because I have made my swimsuits previously without using my serger at all. But this way, I just feel like a little bit more comfortable in my mind that in case something happens, I have that reinforced stitch. So even though I told you guys you can make this entire swimsuit without a serger, and you can, I am just going to go in right now and just clean up along the edges of the swimsuit using a 3-thread overlock stitch. Again, this is not mandatory. You could have done this entirely on your serger, or you can skip the serger altogether and just use the regular sewing machine like I did. But because I'm just pedantic, I guess I'm just pedantic, you guys. So I'm just going to run this really, really quickly through my serger because it will just make me feel better. That's just the long and short of it. That is just the long and short of it because it's definitely not necessary. neat. This is what I like, you guys. I like my insides to be just as neat and tidy and well done as my outsides. And this just helps me to achieve that. And as I said, it's completely unnecessary. You're actually doing the work twice. But for me, I'm not bothered. And I like how it makes me feel when I wear the swimsuit. And I like how it looks when it's done. So come on now. Right, so that is the panty back done. Guilty. Why are we guilty? Oh, Marichelle. Why did you feel guilty? That's interesting, Marichelle. Why? Now, making a swimsuit can be quick compared to some of the other things that you could probably make. A swimsuit can be quite quick. It just depends on your machine that you're using, because if I was just doing a one pass, it would have been done a lot quicker. And I guess as well, if I was just talking to you a lot and trying to show you what I'm doing, it would have been quicker as well. But if you're new to it, it can be frustrating if you're not sure what you're doing, and if your machine keeps eating at your fabric and all that kind of jazz. It could be a little bit daunting. So I would recommend that you just take your time. It's not a race. The one thing about sewing a swimsuit, though, that I want to mention, especially if you're something like me and you like to make fit adjustments, is that you can't really preempt, I guess, the adjustments you're going to need from a swimsuit unless you sew it up. And you can't really make a toile either unless you're going to make a toile out of the same swimsuiting fabric, or if not the same, very, very similar swimsuiting fabric, because all of them are not the same. They stretch differently. And so if you make up a swimsuit using a fabric that has, let's say, 60% stretch and it fits you perfectly, and then you make up the same swimsuit using a fabric that has 70% stretch, you might find that it does not fit you in the same way. And so that's another reason I like to use the swimsuiting fabrics from Cali Fabrics, because they tell me how much stretch percentage I need. And then it means that if I've made up a swimsuit before, then I can make it up again. So Marichelle says, I felt guilty because I had never changed anything on a pattern before. I had always done everything as it was given or written. Ooh, isn't it liberating, though, to go ahead and make something using a pattern and putting your own spin on it? At least it is for me. It's an amazing feeling for me. Like, oh my God, I did that. My own creativity coming into play. So this is my panty front, and I'm going to turn it right sides out through my side seam. And then, so this is what it looks like. This is the fabric. This is my panty main front. And this is my panty lining. Now you might notice I have my trusted magic tape stuck to my lining. And that is because this solid fabric looks the same on both sides, but it's not. One side is more matte and one side is a little bit shinier. And I wanted to make sure that all of the sides that I was going to use, they were all the same. And so I put magic tape on it. It comes off very easily. I can write on it if I need to. And so I really do like using magic tape. So this is my panty front. I have turned it right sides together. And what I'm going to do now is I am going to pin it. What did I do with my pins? Okay. I am going to pin my side seams together on my panty front only. And I'm going to go back again and I'm going to do some more basting. So let's pin that together. And then we're going to baste it using a long stitch length. Again, my machine goes up to 6 millimeter stitch length, and that is a straight stitch. So you're going to go ahead and baste it together. Can you carry on without basting? Yes, you can. Will I carry on without basting? No, I won't, because it is annoying when you think you have caught all 4 layers, because you're going to have 4 layers sewing together. And then you try to turn your panties out and realize that you missed a piece and you have a big old hole in your panties. I'm not doing that. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm just pinning it together. And then I'm going to baste the side seams together. I'm also going to do the same thing with the crotch. Now for these panties, you're going to either need to leave a little bit of a hole in the construction so you can turn them right sides out. Or alternatively, you're going to have to go back in and unpick. I like to just go ahead and leave a hole, and I'm going to leave a hole in the crotch because I'm going to have to hand sew it, and nobody should be looking at my crotch. So that, I think, is a great place to go ahead and conceal my hand stitching. Right. I want to show you guys my seam, because I was telling you how your fabric will kind of roll to the front. Oh, that doesn't help. So this is the main side. This is the elastic here. And you can see it edges over the front of my fabric. And then this is the back side. I'm hoping that you guys can see what I'm talking about. So on your front side, you don't have any red peeking over at all. It acts like when you understitch, you know, you would spread it, stitch your seam allowance to stitch your seam to your lining. And then when it helps you to turn your fabric on itself, so it rolls inwards nicely and you don't have any peeking out, that is the effect of your elastic. So if I had gone ahead and attached my elastic to the lining side of my swimsuit or my less dominant side of my swimsuit, then I would have a little bit of red peeking through on my main side. I didn't want that. I don't want that. So make sure you go ahead and you attach your elastic to your main side of your swimsuit. See on the back side, can you see how just the print is rolling over ever so slightly? So when I wear the swimsuit on the red side, I am going to be able to see just a little bit of the printed side. But on the main side, nothing. So go ahead and make sure you're attaching your elastic to the, you see this big old grin on my face? Like, I feel like that is just important information. And you might not necessarily know that unless you've done a couple swimsuits and you realize, hey, actually it does make a difference. So go ahead and do that. So I have pinned my side seams together. I am going to pin, I was pinning my crotch together before I got distracted. And then I am just going to switch my machine settings back to my basting stitch, and then I'm going to baste them together. Girl, Kizzy, hack everything. Everything. It is such an amazing feeling just to be able to add your own unique touch to a pattern. And that doesn't in any way suggest that the pattern in its original format is not good, because I actually believe that the patterns that have been best drafted and fit you nicely, those are the ones that are great for hacking, because the base pattern itself, you know it looks good on you. You've made any adjustments that you need to make sure that the pattern fits you nicely. And then it means you can use the same pattern over and over again. You can have it in its original format. Then you can have a couple with your own spin on it. And you can have so many garments in your wardrobe made using the same pattern. And it also means that you're getting a lot of bang for your buck, because a lot of the patterns are expensive. And now that you guys don't have Joanne anymore, like a lot of you, you're now in the same boat as us who've never had those privileges. You find that patterns can be quite expensive, I guess, and for good reason, because you have to put a lot of work into them. But it's nice just to be able to get more bang for your buck. So I do have a little bit of my elastic peeking over now that I have basted it together. So I'm just going to go back in and clean it up just like this, where I do have that, so that I can now attach my panties, the front of the panty to the back of the panty. And then we would have completed the bottom of our swimsuit. So this is my swimsuit front. I've turned it right side out. This is my swimsuit back. I am leaving it right sides together, so wrong sides out. And what I want to do is, I'm not at my table, so this is going to be a little bit trickier. I am going to slip my swimsuit front through the side seams of the swimsuit back. And I want to make sure that the printed sides become right sides together and the lining sides are right sides together. And then I'm going to pin it into place. Now with my elastic, I want to make sure that the seam of my panty front, the one on the inside, is butting right the way up to the seam of my panty back. So I'm trying to get it as close as possible to the side seams. And then I'm going to baste it again into place. Again, you can choose to skip the basting if you want to. I don't want to, because I don't want to end up finding out after I flip my panties right side out that the I've missed a spot. I don't want that. So I'm just pushing it all the way up, and then I'm going to baste it into place using a straight stitch, and then I'm going to sew my side seams with my serger after. Again, I just like that clean finish on the inside, and it allows me to use my knife just to clean up any bits of my inside that can benefit from that. So I'm just going to pin it into place, and then I'm going to stitch it. So my panty front is sandwiched in between my panty back. I'm going to do the same thing at the crotch line and at the other side seam. You want to make sure that you have... Hello? Where are you going? Come and say hello. You have to come and say hello. Say hi.
Hi.
Say, how are you?
How are you? I'm good.
You're good? They're not asking if you're good. They can see that you... Who you blowing kisses after? Bye. Scooch. Go on about your business. Go ahead. Scooch. So you guys, I'm doing my live today, but my kids are home. It is a public holiday here, so you can see the result of that. So what I'm going to do now, again, I'm going to repeat the same thing. I'm pushing my panty front right the way up to my elastic on my panty back, so that when I trim it over, it should have a cute intersection. I hope that makes sense. Give me a cute intersection. Ouch. Bye. 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 Scooch. Mikhail, don't do that. MJ, don't do that. Who's not listening to their mommy? Don't play with the door, MJ. MJ, don't do that. Then you're supposed to squeeze your fingers in the door. Don't do it. Go ahead about your business, boy. Go ahead about your business. Go about your business. Go ahead about your business. Are you going to sew? Y'all can see who already loves the camera. He's 2. He's going to be 3 this weekend coming. Really, MJ? You can't come up on my legs now. Go and watch your iPad. Look at Daddy call you. Right, so when I pin the panty at the crotch line, I am going to go ahead and leave a really, really small hole so that I can turn it right sides out. Kizzy, do not encourage him. That's what he likes to do, climb all over me. I'm just making sure, because we have 4 pieces of fabric, I want to make sure that I have them lined up as well as possible. And then I can pin the rest of the crotch together. As I said, I'm going to leave a really, really small hole, maybe like an inch and a half or so. Because it is swimsuiting elastic, it will stretch when I pull it right sides out, but I still don't want it to be too big of a hole that I have to hand stitch. And I don't want it too small either that I can't get it pulled through. So I'm just going to leave a small hole. So now that I have everything pinned together, my panty front is now sandwiched between my panty back. And you're probably figuring out to yourself, well, how am I even going to get this pulled through? So I am going to go in and I'm basting it now using my 1/4 inch seam allowance. Again, long stitch. Mine is 6 millimeters in length. Straight stitch. And because I'm doing a straight stitch, it means that unless I unpick it, when I put my panties on for the first time, I'm going to hear some popping sounds. And that will be the popping of the straight stitches, the basting stitches bursting away. Because I know I have done this, I'm not going to freak out and think, oh my God, my panties are falling apart. So just bear that in mind. If you do a lot of basting and you're using a straight stitch, when you put your panties on or whatever it is that you have made on, you probably are going to hear a little bit of a crack, you know, your threads breaking. But that is just because we have these straight stitches. Can you see the straight stitches? So I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. And then I'm going to take it to the serger so it can be nice and pretty. But if you do not have your serger, you can just use the same zigzag stitch on your sewing machine and that will be fine. Your panties will be fine. Right, now my crotch. And I'm going to leave a small hole, as I said, right at my crotch. Righty-hoo, back to my serger because I like the finish better and no other reason at all. And then for your serger, you can go in and use a wide-eyed needle, thread your serger ends through, and then thread it through your swimsuit if you wanted to. I don't do that. I just like to tie off my serger threads, a really, really tight knot, and pull it as close down to the seam as possible, and then clip off the ends. That works fine enough for me, but you can be extra fancy if you wanted to and just thread it through a wide-eyed needle. I do that sometimes, but I'm not doing that with a swimsuit because you're not going to see it at all. If I was doing like a side seam on maybe a dress or something that has a possibility of showing, or maybe on a placket, I might do that, and most of the times I don't because it's just lazy. But I am just going to tie it off and clip it off. So we are almost finished with the bottoms of the swimsuit. And that is great because we are nearing the end. Look at this, you guys. I basted it together, and can you see that a little piece of the lining rolled over when I was basting it together? No, I saw that, so now I can go ahead and unpick it. and fix it before I was to turn this right sides out. If I had not basted it together and that had happened when I used my serger, I would have been pissed as hell. So this is why we baste. You're using so many layers and the swimsuit in fabric is just so slippery. I just wouldn't recommend taking the chance at all. It does take a little bit longer, but it really makes it a lot easier in the long run. So I would definitely recommend baste. If you've got nothing else from today's live, it's baste. So I'm going to run this through now my serger again. I'm going to do the same thing and just tie off at my edges. Now, when you're turning your swimsuit through, you can go in and like clip your corners of your swimsuit just so that there's less bulk, like when you turn it through. I am not particularly concerned about that in my swimsuits. I don't think people are inspecting your swimwear that much. And in any event, I never want to play around with like the possibility of clipping into my elastic and breaking my elastic. And then when I wear my swimsuit, I'm like, oh my God, it's falling apart. So I don't like to do that. You can do that if you wanted to have really, really sharp edges on your swimsuit, but that bit is not really a big deal for me. And so I just don't play with that at all. I don't. When I'm working on my wovens or when I'm working on like garments, I will go in sometimes and clip my edges depending on the area so I can get a nice sharp corner. But until I figure out how to do it without impacting my rubber in any way, I just don't play with that. So right, so our panties are basically done. And now we have the magic of turning them right sides out. Now my knife did catch just a little bit of the seam allowance when I was stitching off the seam just now, but it's not really going to be a big deal because I am going to hand sew it. So you can see it just has a little bit, I caught just a little bit in my knife. That is not a big deal. So my entire panty is sandwiched in between my panty back. So the little hole that I left right here, I am just going to go ahead and push my swimsuit gently through the hole, like push and pull, push and pull, push and pull. A little bit of wiggling. If you left a bigger hole, it would be easier. I don't want a bigger hole because I don't want to hand stitch a bigger hole. Bigger panties. So this is the lining side. I can now remove my tape because I'm finished with the panty. Clearly I didn't do a good job because I did not remember to cut off the serger thread here. So I'm just going in with my nippers and removing that. And this is a little bit of a hole now that we have left in the crotch. So I will have to go back in and hand sew just a small hole in the crotch area. But the rest of it is fully enclosed. I'm just going to pull it at the intersections. And this is why you need to make sure that the front and the back, you butt them up as close as possible so that you can have a good straight seam. So right the way around my line, I don't have like a big dip here or something like that. You want to make sure it's butt up right against there and on the same and on the other side. And granted, I did not cut off my edges, so I'm pretty happy with that. I will take that. Just going to do a little bit of pulling. Right, so this is going to be side number 2. This is the wrong side. Now you can see a lot easier. This is the top of the waist, and can you see how the lining is just peeking out at the top? That is because of the way we attach the elastic. And so if this was the right side of my swimsuit, the main side, then I would have just this little lip of the fabric showing through. Now when I turn my panties the opposite direction, this is now my main side. You don't see that lip of red at all. It is perfect. Perfect, perfect, perfect. So these are what the panties look like. Don't they look huge? Like, do they look like they can fit me? I'm just going to knit them on really, really quickly so you guys can see what they look like on the body. So just a sec. What you calling daddy for? What you calling your daddy for, boy? All right, folks. So these are what the briefs look like. Fit pretty well. I think you can see that it's quite snug. It has stretch, obviously. The sides look really, really good. You can see that it's one continuous line across my waist because we took the care to butt up the two pieces into the elastic and also to do the basting. You can see a couple of the basting stitches here, not a big deal. I can go back in and take them out. Now I can feel the little bit of a hole. You can see a little bit of bagging right here, and that is because of the hole that we left in the crotch. So once I sew that together, you won't be able to see it. Can you see how it fits along the bum line? And that is because we did a little bit of tension to the elastic when we were applying it so that it can fit a little bit tighter right around the leg line. Again, it is bothering me a little bit down here because of the hole that I know that is there. But once I go ahead and fix that, then it should be like you shouldn't see any bagging at all, like right here, because there's a loose piece of fabric, as it were, right there. But this is what it looks like, all done for the swimsuit briefs. This has good coverage, I think. I wouldn't say I have a beach body, at least not a traditional beach body. I've had 2 kids and 2 C-sections, but I feel comfortable in a swimsuit like this. I feel like my C-section shelf that bothers me is like tucked away quite nicely in it, and I don't have a lot of spillage over the top of the swimsuit, so I do feel quite comfortable in this one. For the bum, it fits across like my butt line quite nicely. I think this one is the full coverage butt, if I'm not mistaken. I think she has some, like you're gonna get a cheeky coverage, you can get a thong, the different variations for the different swimsuit bottoms that she provides. But this one does have like full coverage, but it doesn't come down like a boxer or like a boy short. You can actually see that it has a panty line. So I am quite happy with this pattern. I do like this pattern. I have made it several times, and I find like it works for my body type. And I know a lot of people are not comfortable going to the beach because if you're anything like me, you have mom toms, you've had kids, you have stretch marks, you have C-section shells and all of that kind of business. But it's really nice to be able to make yourself a swimsuit that you feel a lot more comfortable in, that you can wear a swimsuit proudly to the beach. And I feel like at this stage of the game, all body types are welcome on the beach, at the pool, wherever. It's summer, it's hot. People want to have their skin out. You want to feel cool. You want to be at the beach and enjoying yourself. You don't want to be at the beach and feeling like, you have to cover up because you don't feel comfortable. Like, we should be way beyond that by now. But it does help to have a swimsuit that fits quite nicely. So we have finished the bottoms in our power hour. I am probably going to work on the top maybe later, maybe off camera, maybe on Instagram stories. I don't know yet. I'm going to work on the top because I do want to have the matching top for this one. I have cut it out already. I'll just show you really quickly. It has a little bit of like a sweetheart kind of, like, you can get an idea of what it looks like. It has like a sweetheart thing, and then it has straps, and then it has a low back. I don't know what I do with the back piece. Oh, is this the back piece? No, this is not the back piece. Oh, this is the back piece. So it just has a little scoop at the back, and obviously, as I said, it will have the straps. So just a simple bikini. Hi, Amina. Just a simple bikini that works well for me and my body type. And I'm hoping that you guys would have picked up some tips and tricks today as I was sharing them with you for sewing swimwear. If you need a little bit more of a reminder, you want to see some of my other tips and tricks for swimwear sewing, there's a full video here on the channel showing you guys all of my tips and tricks for swimsuit construction, making it easy to construct, or maybe I shouldn't say easy, but a little less frustrating to construct. So if you are interested in giving swimsuit sewing a try, you don't know where to begin, then make sure you go ahead and check out that video. I'm hoping that will give you a little bit more help. And I'm hoping that today's video would have at least encouraged you, open up your mind to the possibility of sewing your own swimwear. As usual, if you guys have any questions on tip, hit me on tip, on fit, or any other like techniques that I did not cover in this live or in that video, make sure you leave me some comments on my videos, or go ahead and find me over on Instagram. It is on social. Send me a DM. Let's talk about it. I'm always happy and willing to help you guys, especially so far as fitting is concerned. I'm not perfect. I'm not an expert, but I have come a long way, and I have always made it a key point of my sewing journey to fit my clothes to my body. I don't live where I can just run out and buy fabrics and notions very easily. I have to order everything, wait an eternity for it to get to me here on the island, pay millions of dollars at customs in order to take them out and have them. And so I like to make sure that I'm at least trying to get my stuff to fit me. Whether that is woven fabrics or knit fabrics, it doesn't matter. As I said, I made 2 adjustments to these panties. I did a sway back adjustment, and I narrowed the crotch a little bit, 1/4 inch on either side. Can you guys imagine how wide it would have been in here if I had not narrowed that crotch? Then I would have had bagging at either side of my leg, because obviously my thighs would close. And why are you getting commercials in my life? What? Really? You know, I've been watching the BSM team on live. Like, I go to their weekly live showings here on YouTube, and sometimes I get commercials, and then I would leave a message to say I got a commercial, and they're equally astonished. Like, how are you getting commercials in a live? Well, I don't even know why we're getting commercials in a live. But what I was saying is, can you imagine how much excess fabric I would have had between my crotch when my legs closed, because the fabric would have been bunching up? A 1/2 inch of fabric is a big difference when you're talking about sewing and fitting. That would have made a big difference to the fit of the crotch line of these panties. Right. So you guys, that is the end of my power hour. We have just gone over by just about 8 or 10 minutes. Thank you guys so much for taking the time for joining me today. It is always a pleasure to serve my sewing community in any way that I can, and doing lives and showing you guys some of the tricks that I use to help with my construction. Not that they're perfect, but that can help you hopefully achieve a little bit less frustration when you're sewing your own garments. Open up your mind to different possibilities. I love that. I love that about the sewing community. So thank you guys so much for being here and chilling with me. Make sure you follow me over on Instagram so you can see my finished swimsuit. Whilst you're over on Instagram, also make sure you join my channel. I do have a channel. It's called Becoming Her. And I have been sharing a little bit more of my everyday life behind the scenes. I do share some sewing there as well, but not as much. We have been focused on like getting healthy holistically, keeping our minds right, keeping our body right, drinking lots of water, getting a lot of exercise in, being a little bit more mindful, taking social media breaks. These kind of things we have been talking about over there. And I've also been sharing a lot of food stuff. I don't know why. I have a love-hate relationship with my food. And so that has been a separate outlet. So if you're interested in that part of my life, make sure you join my channel. If you're not interested in that, you just want to see sewing, make sure you join my Instagram account. And obviously subscribe here on YouTube. So thank you guys so much for joining me. It is a holiday here today, so I'm gonna have something to eat now and then figure out what I want to do with the rest of the afternoon off. Maybe I should just finish the swimsuit so that it will actually get done. But we'll see. I'll catch you guys later over on Instagram. So until next time, you guys, say it with me. Stay calm, stay cool, stay safe, and absolutely keep sewing. Peace.